Good morning, Internet fans. It's Ryan Perry, Simple Biz Support. Today is Thursday, November 12th. Therefore, it's Internet Marketing Thursday. And as usual, I have Virginie Dorn with Business Website Center. Good morning, Virginie.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you on Thursday?
I'm doing great. It's sunny out. It's a little crisp. I've got the heater on, but you can see at the back window, it's nice and sunny out. So it's a beautiful day.
Yes, we cannot complain. We live in the beautiful part of the U.S. No rain or snow here.
Yep, and the grape leaves are finally starting to turn because I live out in the country. I've got a lot of vineyards around me, so I'm starting to notice that the grape leaves are starting to change.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well,
Yeah. Well, speaking of beautiful, we're going to talk about storytelling and how to incorporate storytelling into your website. And this is going to be um, very informative for people if you're looking at remodeling, rebuilding your website, because you do need to take some time and energy and put some thought into this. This is kind of a higher end, more complicated web development and marketing message, I would say.
yes, it's a fairly new trend. It's called dynamic storytelling. It's using your website in a dynamic way to tell the story of your services, your product, or your company, or your nonprofit organization. It doesn't work for everybody. It is more complicated to code, so you have to find the right programmer. But nonetheless, this is a trend we're going to see in 2016 and later. It's going to continue to flourish and become more and more popular because it's kind of fun and interesting. And if it's done right, it really can captivate the attention of your audience, which is what you want with your website.
Right. Not only captivate them, but if you're telling a story, it's a way to convey your brand message, or if you're selling product, what makes your product better than the rest of them. Instead of just talking about it, do you have a screen share that you can pop up and maybe we can show a couple of examples and then we can highlight some of the different details that they've done? I know we've got a list of 10 items that go into a great dynamic storytelling website.
Yes, absolutely. So there are different ways of telling a story dynamically. It could be done in a cartoon fashion, which is also popular, but again, not right for every single type of businesses. So for instance, on this one, you can either scroll down, you can see the sun is moving, and then you get a text here. And now you see the guy is in his underwear getting ready. Soon he's going to be in his bathroom. Well, obviously we're looking at the visual right now, but there's a story behind this then matters. It's called everylastdrop.co.uk. Very interesting website. As you can see, it keeps going. Like this is here, a similar style, again, cartoon type. The way they did their website, though, is a little slow. It takes like a couple of seconds to download. But again, as you scroll down, you can see things moving. This is not a video. This is actually coded images when are timed properly. And if you were to read this, there would be a story that guides you what's going on with the money and so forth. Again, this is very cartoon-like. And we're going to spend more time on this website, which has more like live images. Now, the thing to remember is to, number one, start with a good story outline. So think about like movie makers. They always have a storyboard. So you have to know what the story is, not just make something pretty. It has to be efficient. So from A to Z, what are you trying to convey? How quickly do you want to convey that message? And what's your end goal? And then you build the story dynamically around that outline. Now I'm wondering.
Right. And I was going to say part of that, creating that story and that marketing is, especially for small businesses, they don't always really know who their target audience is. And target audience really goes deeper than just an age group, if they're male or female, what their age range. It really goes in the interest. What's going to interest them? Is a cartoon the right solution versus the one we're looking at right now for HTC, which is more live picture based?
Yes, indeed. And we mention target audience, I think, every week. And I think it's because it's so important. If you don't know who you're trying to target, how can you have a good online marketing campaign or a well-designed website? So same thing here for dynamic storytelling. You want to know who you targeted to make sure the design, the graphics, the text, the color scheme is just truly targeting them and not someone else you're not interested in. So, of course, use interesting and compelling images, photographs, or graphics that can trigger a positive feeling within the visitor, whatever that feeling might be. Now, here, as you can see, there's the text. We always say keep it very short, quick to read at a glance, succinct. Use fonts that are easy to read, nothing too fancy, because you want to move people through the story fairly quickly. Otherwise, they get bored. Let me click here. As you can see here, volume up, distortion down. So they show you like little screenshots of what can be. Low light, again, some subtext, more images. The idea is to impress the visitors. Pure and simple.
Right. Now let me ask you, on this website, it looks like there's, I mean, we have big images, you've got multiple images. It looks like there's a lot of data there. You know, if we go back maybe 2 years now, Google said, look, you need to really make sure that you're cognizant of your bandwidth that your website takes to load. So are there any issues like a Google penalty for loading times or anything like that? Or how do you handle that from a design and build point of view?
Yeah, the load time, if the load time is too slow, you will be penalized by Google for your search engine ranking. But there are techniques you can use nowadays to reduce that loading time. And what happens in most cases, again, when it's well done, is the first image is quick to download. And while the visitor is reading the text and absorbing the content of the photo, then everything else is being downloaded and cached by your browser in the background. But the visitor doesn't know this is happening. So again, the first one is being downloaded very quickly. It takes a second or two for the visitor to absorb it. While doing those 2 to 3 seconds, everything else is downloaded. So when I click on the second button, it doesn't need to download. It was already done. I just didn't see that because it's done through the code.
All right. So from a programming point of view, you can actually control what pops up first, so that you have that what appears to be a very quick load time, but essentially all the other content that you haven't seen yet is loading in the background because it doesn't need to be visible.
That is correct.
Okay.
So there are ways to go around. That's what, I mean, this particular homepage has a lot of content in terms of images and movement. You will think it will take a few seconds to download, but it doesn't. Like if I was to refresh, it comes, you know, very quick. There we go. And let's go to this one, Lexus Asia. I don't own a Lexus. I'm an Audi person, but still a nice car. This is also dynamic storytelling, but more for a corporate style website. You can either scroll down or use your, as you can see, I'm going super slow with my scrolling, but it just makes it interesting. The tires cool. Again, some short text telling you something, and then something more. As I scroll down, it gives me more information. If I'm interested in information, I can slow it down and read it as it goes.
And the other thing that's kind of interesting about this, especially this Lexus one, is that you're not getting all of the information all at once. As you're scrolling down, I could see little, you know, like the text and it looked like a DNA helical or something. As you scroll down, each line kind of popped at a different time.
Yes, so that's the biggest thing that I've changed in the past year or two, is the ability to do that. We could not do that before with the coding. Now we can. We time the text at different moments based on where the cursor is. It gives people time to actually absorb the text, kind of like captions on TV. Or not, you know, they don't give you the whole caption for the entire movie ahead of time. They just give it to you every scene, and that makes it more manageable for the visitor.
Well, and I could see, as far as I like the fact that you used absorb, because it does take people some time to absorb information. And the last thing you want to do is run into a website that's just all text. You know, it overwhelms the brain. It's too much information to absorb. So I like with this dynamic storytelling, how we're just giving little nuggets of information at a time. So one, it makes it much easier to absorb the information. But number two, if it's a good story, like you said, hey, I want to, it's like reading a book. I got to get to the next page. I got to get to the next page. And that engagement is going to help you from a Google point of view, in the sense that you're keeping people on your website longer. Not only obviously on the conversion side also, and then you can get into the social side of people actually sharing this because they thought it was really cool.
Absolutely. All those points are well made. Capturing those audience, that's what we're trying to do, because we can't do an eye contact or a handshake. It's just digital. It's right there in front of them in the comfort of their office or their home. Now, based on your product, you can make it more elaborate. Like Lexus obviously has more of a sophisticated clientele, typically white collar, used to seeing something fancy and bright and shiny. Oakley here, it's more dynamic audience, people who love skiing every winter and so forth. So their website is slightly different. So let me see, let me refresh it. For some reason their image is missing. Interesting.
It always happens during a demo. Why does it always got to break during a demo?
Yeah, so it's a little glitch. So I'm going to show you different kind of dynamic. As you can see, I'm invincible. They're making a statement here, introducing the new Air Brake MX goggle. And then you can see the image here is to, illustrate that statement they just made. And here you can click on a video. Here it shows more information. Again, it comes at different time, the velocity, the mass. Again, not all in one. Here is kind of cool. Obviously, you need excellent product photography to do that kind of rendering, but it's Oakley, they got plenty of money. But again, the message is very clear. Look at how well it's made. I mean, it'll protect you. It has all the cool things. This text, again, very short. Even though it comes at different time, it's short enough and people can read it fairly quickly. Comfort plus performance. I mean, they don't even put the word plus, they just put the symbol.
Right. And I think, with them, the understanding their audience, the reality is their audience probably isn't that interested in all the technical stuff that went into making the product. They just want to know that it's going to work. So I love that first visual with all the rocks kind of pounding on the goggles, and it's clean and, no scratches on it.
I know, it's perfect. And you can see the limited amount of colors. I always tell clients, choose one primary color and then a secondary, then you use a different time. And primarily it's black and red, a little bit of yellow because it's part of the goggle. But again, very clean. It's all about the product, but in a dynamic fashion. It totally works. I mean, I want that goggle. I don't even ski. I want the Lexus too.
Maybe it's time to start skiing.
Yeah, maybe time to buy a Lexus.
There you go. And then, because we're running out of time, all the things that we've looked at are on a desktop. What are the concerns as far as being able to take all that big imagery and all the timing between the text and the photos? And I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there. What about mobile devices and tablets?
Yes, very important to make sure the dynamic storytelling is mobile responsive. In many instances, we will change the storyline, make it more succinct, shorter, less movement. In some instances, we remove the movement. It's more thumb operated. So there are ways to tell the codes like, hey, if someone is on a smartphone, don't make it so dynamic on its own. Just make it so every time they scroll down with their thumb, make it dynamic that way. So there are many things we can change. And again, make it shorter on a smartphone. For some reason, people's attention span is shorter on a smartphone than it is on a regular desktop. So, but
it's because they're driving, it's really...
That is bad. Don't drive. Next.
All right. So we covered, I think we covered all 10 items, even though we didn't name them off. There was a lot of stuff in there that we covered, but hopefully the visual aspect of what you saw, go check out some of those websites. Very powerful imagery, storytelling, a very unique way to brand a website that's really bound to create some interest in your product if it's done right.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
All right.
Right. Talk to your webmaster about it. See if it's the right option for you.
There you go. With that, that ends today's show of Internet Marketing Thursday. We will be back next week. However, the following week is Thanksgiving. We're going to take the day off, and then we'll start up again in December. Virginie, as always, I appreciate the time and energy that you put into the show, and I'm looking forward to talking to you next Thursday.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, that's it for today's show. I hope you found this informational. If you have any questions for Virginie regarding design or anything about how this works, the dynamic storytelling, feel free to leave a message below, and she will definitely get back to you. All right, everybody, we'll see you next week. Take care.